students. Today in English we will continue with lesson 2.4, The Fall of Troy, part 1. Thus Troy was a strong city, strongly protected by its walls and strongly defended by its brave soldiers. But all the kings and heroes of Greece had declared war against the Trojans, because Paris, a prince of Troy, had persuaded Helen, that is, convinced Helen, wife of a Greek king Menelaus, to elope with him, that is, to run away with him to get married. He had brought her to Troy. The Greeks wanted to take revenge on Troy for the wrong done to Menelaus. They sailed to Troy and laid siege to the city. Siege is the act of surrounding and attacking a fortified city. The Trojans too fought hard, and the siege continued for 10 long years. The fighting went on daily, but the siege did not end. On the one hand, the Greeks could not take the city, and on the other hand, the Trojans could not force them to sail away. Every day the Trojans came out of their gates, and the Greeks came out of their tents and ships, and the fighting went on. Sometimes there were great battles between the two armies. Sometimes there were single fights between two great heroes. Sometimes the Trojans had the better of it, meaning they were superior to the Greeks, and sometimes the Greeks were superior to the Trojans. But still the fighting went on. Great heroes on both sides were killed in the course of the war. After leading the defense of his city for 9 years, the brave Hector was at last killed by Achilles, whom none could resist. But Achilles himself was killed later on by a poisoned arrow that entered his heel, the only part of his body where he could be wounded. Still later, Paris himself was killed, also by a poisoned arrow. The Trojans were tired of being shut up in their city, and the Greeks were longing to see their homes again. But still the fighting went on. English workshop. Read the passage and name the following. A. He composed the Iliad and Odyssey. Homer. B. He persuaded Helen to elope with him. Paris. C. She was wife of the king Menelaus. Helen. D. He led the defense of Troy for 9 years. Hector. E. He was killed by a poisoned arrow that entered his heel. Achilles. Question number 2. Find antonyms, that is opposites of the following from the passage. A. Barren. Opposite is fertile. B. Offended. Opposite is pleased. C. Cowardly. Opposite is brave. D. Peace. Opposite is war. E. Surrender. Opposite is attack. F. Exposed. The opposite is protected. And G. Defenseless. The opposite is safe. Question number 3. From other sources, find synonyms of the following words used in the story. A. Great. The synonym is illustrious for a hero. B. Beautiful, entrancing for a woman. C. Fight. The verb is attack. D. Rich, prosperous, refer to city. E. Safe, protected. F. Strong, well protected, refer to city. G. Brave, courageous. Question number 4. Correct the following sentences using facts from the passage. A. Troy traded in cattle and grass with other cities. The answer is Troy traded in goods and grain with other cities. B. During war, Trojans jumped over the fort gates to fight the enemy. The answer: during war, Trojans came out of the fort gates to fight the enemy. C. Helen eloped with Menelaus. Answer: Helen eloped with Paris. D. Troy was attacked because it was a strong, rich city. Answer: Troy was attacked because its prince Paris had eloped with Helen, wife of King Menelaus. E. The Greek armies and heroes always defeated the Trojans. Answer: Sometimes the Trojans defeated the Greeks, and sometimes the Greek armies defeated the Trojans. F. Both the enemies were eager to continue fighting. Answer: The Trojans were tired of being shut up in their city, and the Greeks were longing to see their homes again. Question number 4G. The great heroes avoided one another. Sometimes there were single fights between two great heroes. H. Achilles was killed by an arrow that pierced his heart. Achilles was killed by a poisoned arrow that pierced his heel. Question number 5. State the counter action for the following actions. Action A. Helen eloped with Paris. Counter action: all the kings and heroes of Greece declared war against the Trojans. B. The Greeks sailed to Troy and attacked it. Counter action: the Trojans fought hard and the siege continued for 10 years. C. Hector was killed by Achilles. Counter action: Achilles himself was killed by a poisoned arrow.